Farms?
I'm sorry?
Is this not Band Mink Farms? Do you know the story?
I don't know the story.
That was Lance's first night. It was not a fun night.
Oh, really?
We probably shouldn't even joke about it.
I'm sure we'll have nights like that again.
I think we're ready.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to the December 22nd, last one of 2022 Planning Commission meeting for Morgan County. We'll start off tonight with a prayer from Member Wilson.
Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads before thee. We're grateful for the opportunity once again to gather together as representatives from the community of Morgan. We're truly grateful for the opportunity we have to live here amongst such fine people. And we ask as we begin this meeting that your Spirit will attend us in whatever manner it can, that we could be influenced for the good of the citizens of this community and to help. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Declaration of conflicts of interest. We have one item on the agenda. Seeing none, we will go on to public comment. Public comment is, since tonight we only have one thing on the agenda and it is administrative, there will not be a public hearing for that. So if you have anything to say, and it doesn't have to be on this item in particular, it can be on anything related to county business. I suppose there's not even a limit on that, is there? Alien abduction, anything that you'd like to talk about, we only ask that you go to the microphone, state your name and approximately where you live. Seeing none, we have to move to go out of public. Okay, we will go on to item number 6.
The item before you is application number 22.041, Shortfield Landings Concept Plan. It's located at 4032 West, 5800 North Mountain Green. The zoning of the parcels is currently commercial buffer. It is located within the runway protection zone. The proposal is a subdivision concept plan approval for phase 1, resulting in 4 condominiums for commercial flex space, as well as combining 2 lots into a single lot. This item actually came before you in July 14th of this year. You recommended approval to the county commission for both phase 1 and phase 2, which would have been 28 flex spaces plus the combination of the 2 lots. It was approved by the county commission on August 2nd. However, after going through or starting site plan approval, the applicant ran into some issues with setbacks. So the buildings on phase 2 are going to shift a little bit. So I suggested he come back, receive concept plan approval for just phase 1 so that he can move forward with preliminary plat, final plat. With that, there are no engineering comments, there are no surveying comments or fire comments, and staff is recommending approval. The applicant is in the audience.
Okay. We are reapproving phase 1
Yeah.
for concept for subdivision.
So this is the amended concept plan, which Unfortunately.
We don't have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it didn't make it into the packet.
Because the plat that was in the packet didn't meet concept. I was going to say no-go tonight.
That was an old drawing, I don't know how it got in there. So the drawings that were submitted for concept plan met minimum requirements, the engineer reviewed it, I reviewed it. It basically combines the two main lots and then condominiumizes these 14. This is an existing building.
Do you have paper copies of those?
Kind of hard for us to make a recommendation when we haven't seen it.
Yeah, I was not aware it was not in the packet.
Can we get paper copies of it real quick?
Yeah, we can print up copies, I'll be right back.
You guys have any questions from you out here?
Well,
Can you just come to the microphone so we can capture your remarks or answers?
Evening, folks.
okay. Because that doesn't show topos. I'm just kind of looking from here for basic concept.
So let me give you a quick history, or to remind you of the history. So the center line, or the property line, this is back when we had previous planning, was actually, these buildings sit right on the property line. So there was 0 setbacks for phase 1, okay? So that's when that was originally, the application came in, which was originally designed for a phase 1 and a phase 2. This being phase 1, then I was going to mirror this and do this on phase 2, and we were going to all condominiumize it and do it as one particular subdivision at that time. Since then, previous planning allowed this to go into place with setbacks that do not necessarily, I wouldn't say don't comply, but what the setbacks over here are going to be different than what's here. So when Josh and I had discussion, it's like, well, listen, we're already built standing building permits, this complies with and is allowable. Now, because we're so far along in the building process, I actually have these 4 buildings sold on contract, 2 of these units as well as 2 of these units, which by the time we get over here and replat this, redesign this, these will need to be available for sale. Follow me, Debbie?
Yeah, well, we're,
Okay? So I can't sell these until I have certificate of occupancy and they're condominiumized. So we said, let's pause on this and let's not do anything right on this part of the lot. Let's eliminate this property line, okay? Then there is no issue in terms of where the property is. So now this is one full subdivision. This also allows me to condominiumize each individual unit and sell those and or lease those independently. Then I can come back in with a new concept plan for this, which Debbie, I think from Mark, the engineers, notes. This will actually come in as, which will require different soils reports and different engineering requirements than this one previously did.
but shouldn't that one still have to meet concept application requirements?
If I keep these as an individual, if I do this as an individual, no, according to the planning. Because I'm combining them, and this might be a better conversation once Josh goes in the room, but that's the way I was instructed, and that's why we paused, and then it was recommended through Josh to do this all as one, to get this line eliminated, so we can move forward. Because I agree with you, Debbie, if there was requirements that were done or needed prior to me even drawing a building permit, it should have been done at that time, under previous administration. It was not. However, there's Josh. This was allowed to move forward, given the status that it's in.
So basically, all we're doing is combining 2 parcels into one.
Correct. And condominiumizing, so these are their own individual tax licenses.
But,
That's what condominiumizing.
yeah, but that's what we did. We already did the concept on that.
I understand. I'm complying with recommendation. If it's already been approved as condominiumization, then therefore each one of these should have their own individual tax ID numbers. What we had not done at that time, Josh, I don't think you were there, this was one of the Lance, the previous one, the Lance, is that this line, these two properties have not been combined. So that would definitely be the suggestion and request that I would have here. Because if we already had a previous approval, this would allow the condominiumization, therefore these would have individual tax ID numbers, and then these two parcels would now become one. So it's one subdivision instead of two.
So tonight, we are getting rid of the middle lot line.
We're combining two parcels.
Correct.
But we already did the.
That's what I'm
tax numbers
confused.
Last time.
Yeah, I thought that's already been done.
So here's the issue. The previous concept plan included all 28 units instead of just the 14 for condominiums. Because the locations of those buildings for the second 14 units they're gonna have to shift. They're not gonna remain the same. So.
I have a
in order-
question about that. Why could they not remain the same if we just get rid of the lot line? Because then,
Because they don't meet setbacks. So the first phase, I'm not sure how it was approved, but it was approved where it doesn't meet setbacks.
But it was that middle line, lot line, where it didn't meet setbacks, correct? Not on the,
Not correct.
side.
that's not, all the way, it didn't meet setbacks?
So front setback in this zone is, I believe, 25 feet. Rear property line is 20 feet. Sides are 10 feet.
Rears are 10, sides are 20.
No, I
Are
don't
we
think so.
backwards?
Yeah. Rear is 20.
So where's the front on this?
Okay, so,
Is it 5,800 or Cottonwood?
right, so
58, I would think.
Is the
Yeah.
front?
That would be the front.
he's calling this the front.
Oh, when it came before us, it was 5800 north was the front.
So,
15 headers in front.
Otherwise, does that make front setback correct?
So if that's the case, well, this is a street side yard, which still needs
Yes.
to be 25 feet, and it's not. So it doesn't matter which one you
But-
call front, he's got a corner lot, both of which have to be 25 feet. Correct?
Yeah.
So
I'll pull it
by
up
combining,
so I can see.
if he calls this the front to minimize the non-conformity going forward, because these buildings are already under construction, he's going through site plan review, and he's got to address the setbacks, which means that either this back building needs to be removed, or he uses the back building, but the setbacks over here, if this is the front, the setbacks over here would have to be 20 feet. But if the setbacks, but if this is counted the front, then the setbacks back here have to be 20 feet.
so what is it? What one is the front,
But
5800?
the address is 5800 north, so that'd be
The
the,
initial is that 5,800 was the front, okay? Josh, if you don't mind, that's up there as well. So the original concept, because the access is coming through here, this was gonna be the front. When we submitted all this, it was under-reviewed, it was fully approved, there was no adjustments required or addressed in that if we were not in compliance here. This existing building, as well as the existing building here, they're 10 feet to 12 feet. So therefore, this conformed by visualization, but Josh, being as good as he is, said, someone screwed up in phase one, so we can't allow you to do that in phase two if you remove this building. So Josh was trying to do us all a favor to do it the right way in phase two. I wish he would, but he did, but he's doing a great job for you as the county. So, in doing that, that's why we said, let's not design any buildings here because the setbacks might have to be different. Because I originally had my buildings in phase two, 10 feet off the side over here.
Because that's what it was approved the first time on the other side.
but side yard is 10.
True. Okay, but if I remove this building, then I've got to bring, instead of putting this building putting this building where this one matches up, I'd have to bring it 10 feet farther to the property.
It's a
So for-
20-foot rear yard.
Yeah,
Or the
20 foot.
20 feet.
So it's 20-foot rear, so it's a 20-foot rear yard. So, just so you guys are very transparent in my intention, most likely I'm gonna have to leave this building. Still identify as the back, because these buildings exist, these buildings exist. Leave this as my back, leave this as my front. This becomes my side, and this becomes my side.
So
Now,
both sides are 25.
well,
10.
no.
One will be
The
a
only
little-
reason this one's 25 is because it's got an adjoining street. But these buildings
Because
are
it's a corner
done-
lot.
Corner lot.
Yeah.
So this side is gonna be 10.
Now, we also, and Josh, do you line up with
Non-conforming.
Scotsman's?
What's that?
Do these buildings line up with Scotsman's?
That I don't know.
Either way,
No,
if not, we're close.
pretty close,
So the
yeah.
intention is, by leaving this the way it is, and condominiumizing it and removing this property line, it solves a lot of previous administration issues.
The issue here also is that chapter 4 was never followed, which requires planning commission and county commission approval of a site plan review. Site plan review never occurred for the first phase. Construction's already occurring, the buildings are going up, so I'm calling it non-conforming, which is why I'm just moving forward, asking you to amend the concept plan to approve just the first phase for condominiums, while he finishes site plan review of the second phase, and then he'll bring it back for the second.
I have a question, a couple of questions. I thought these were already condominiumized. Each individual thing, like I thought we already did that so they could each have their own tax ID.
That's what I thought
Well,
happened
I
before.
hope that's the case.
The
We can go.
previous concept plan was approved by county commission for 28 condominiums,
Oh,
not 14.
So
It
Josh-
included the second phase, but the buildings on the second phase are
I-
gonna have to shift.
So my question with that, Josh, you said, just because I don't think, I didn't ask you that question, so what if I don't do flex space in phase 2? And I just say, we're already approved for 14, the current phase 1, that's taken care of.
Well,
How does that work? Or does that force me to do?
Here's the issue. So your concept plan that you recommended approval to the county commission approved, included 28.
like a
units.
mirror, basically.
A
Yeah, mirror, yes.
Basically. Those buildings have shifted a little bit, even from the concept plan to what's being designed. So I put a stop going forward on the preliminary and final plat because I thought we needed to make sure that all the requirements of the code were followed for phase 2, which includes setbacks, landscaping, and parking. So that's what he's been working on redesigning is phase 2 to meet the minimum requirements of our code. So for clarity's sake, I thought we should bring the concept plan back just for the first phase and combining the lots.
I have another question. For the concept plan that we already did, was it considered a phase 1 or phase 2, or was it the whole thing?
I don't
I
remember.
thought it was phase 1.
So we had them split into 2 phases?
I thought
Because we
both-
didn't
both-
approve the
both of them are-
second-
Both of them are.
You didn't own the ground, or did you
I
not?
didn't know the ground.
Yeah, at that time. That was the whole,
Yeah, I was gonna come in with the phase, that's why, and I'm even raising an eyebrow on full approval of 28
confusing.
condominiums.
That's what I remember. It was in this previous staff report, so.
Okay, so what, so if we get rid of the middle lot line, then what?
So you get rid of the middle lot line, he can then, with the approval, we'll take it back to council and let them reapprove the updated concept plan. Then you can move forward with the preliminary plat for first phase.
but what
But it
about
would be-
preliminary for phase 1?
Well, it's
final.
already done and it's already in the
That's
ground.
already
Well, I know, and so is the concept for phase 1, but we're redoing phase,
All I want is condominiums. I don't know how, I don't know how to do it, I just want.
So right now, it's
the
a
bill.
legal
I don't have an
non-conforming.
application for a preliminary plat for phase 1. There's a concept plan application.
you can't,
The concept plan application was 22.041. There is no application after that for preliminary plat. So I don't know how
If you-
preliminary plat was approved for a condominium when I don't have an application
so
for it.
preliminary and final were never given, but he can build?
That's my,
No, he can build because Lance gave him site plan approval for a commercial development. The platting of those buildings allows him to sell them. If I have a piece of property, I can build an office building on it if it's commercial and I go through site plan review and
Right.
approval.
But not condominiums,
Right, I can't record it as a plat,
That-
but I
that-
can develop it.
because that's a subdivision.
That's
so-
correct.
And you're saying there's no preliminary final for Phase 1?
No. No, concept plan approval went through in July and August of this year.
but I can get building permits.
That's where I am.
That's like
I'm not
building
sure
on a
why
lot.
that's confusing.
That's
So,
not-
so I don't have to subdivide a commercial development. If I
But he-
want to
yeah.
build a commercial development,
Right.
a piece of property I own, I can build an office building. I can lease it out, as long as I meet minimum setbacks, I go through site plan review, I have the landscaping and the parking, the lighting
Right.
requirements, all taken care of. I file grading and drainage plans with the engineer, and those
Mm-hmm.
are reviewed during site plan review and approval.
He got the conditional use permit first.
I've got building permits.
Well, yeah, that gives.
So he got, and that was to build them before he wanted to make condominiums, and that's why he came back with
That's-
concept.
See,
to
that's
con-
the problem. He has conditional use permit
Right.
approval, which gives him the entitlement to go ahead and
Right.
build units. The site plan review, which did not occur for phase one.
From us and the commission,
And the commission,
Just-
Lance
just staff.
just approved it,
And
which
if-
he didn't have authority to do.
And he approved where the placements are now.
Correct. And issued the building permits in accordance to that.
So he can go through and get site plan review for second phase, and we will issue building permits for him to build those buildings. He just won't be able to sell. the
Individual ones, yes.
He can lease them out, he can rent them, he can do whatever he wants with his commercial development, as long as he complies with chapter 4 of our code, which doesn't require the plat.
Did you apply for preliminary and final?
Well, why would,
Phase one?
why when Lance gave him all the
I
stuff?
don't believe, yeah, so, again, don't trust my memory.
Okay,
For us to get to this stage, from day one, we want to be able to individually sell these individual units.
So our code has laid out how this is supposed to occur, and you're aware of that. The concept plan comes first, and then they can apply for preliminary plat within a certain time frame, and then after they get preliminary plat approval, they can apply for final plat approval within a certain time frame within our code. That's if he wants to start recording and selling the condominiums or the lots itself. That is completely separate to site plan review and approval and construction of the buildings.
what a mess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
And it's not, you didn't cause the mess, but you're trying to fix
He
it.
is fixed.
He's trying to fix it. I know you're trying to fix
so
it.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the oversight seems to be on the part of the county, not on the applicant.
The oversight is, I don't think chapter 4 was followed the way it should have been followed.
And that would have been a county issue, not an applicant issue.
Correct, and I'm not gonna speak ill of anybody, and I'm not gonna point fingers, but going forward, I think chapter 4 needs to be followed, which is the site plan review approval process. The site plan review approval process requires a pre-application, and then a submittal of the application, which is reviewed by me and the engineer, and then it requires approval of the land use authority. A land use authority is the county commission, and in order for the county commission to review a land use application, it has to come through you, the planning commission. So when his site plan review is complete for phase 2, you will see phase 2.
Yes.
You will see the buildings, you will review the landscape plans, you will see the lighting plan, you'll see the parking calculations, the landscape calculations, everything.
And where will that be in relation to preliminary and final?
Well, the
Well-
reason I wanted him to modify his concept plan approval, which he received on August 2nd of this year, is because it showed all 28.
Okay,
And those 28 buildings are not all going to be where they're shown. 14 of them will. The 14 from the first phase will remain there because they're already being constructed.
So it's more of an amended concept than a new concept.
Correct. I did not require him to file
Oh.
a new application. I'm using the old application and just asking you to.
So it's an amended, okay.
Yes.
Because like, things are still missing on this for basic concept.
I
Like-
thought that since you had already reviewed the concept plan for the entire site previously,
Yeah,
that all we needed was an amended showing the first phase.
Okay, so let's say we amend this. Then he still has to do a preliminary and a final so that he
Phase
can
two.
record them and sell them.
For first phase.
And yes, and I'll do that. Because the preliminary and final has not yet been approved for phase one.
will you do those in combination, phase one and phase two at the same time?
Well, so the reason phase two has
That doesn't
been
make sense
delayed
either.
is because of the setback differences.
Mm-hmm.
I have been working feverishly with neighbors and accesses and some different conditions now that Josh has educated me on what was missed in phase one. So it might change, I'll be straight on it, it might not be flex spaces. It might be a different concept for phase two.
Phase two.
But phase one's built standing and I've got people wanting to look, wanting to close.
So,
this might drive.
in the future, if phase two, if he wants to condominiumize phase two, then he'll need to submit a concept plan and go through that process again for phase two.
But if he doesn't want a condominiumized,
Then he can construct the buildings, they will be inspected.
Just a commercial building.
And we will make sure he meets landscape requirements, lighting requirements, grading and
That-
drainage will be reviewed, but he won't be able to sell the individual.
But that will come to us, the site plan will come to
It
us.
will, yeah, for sure.
I guess I'm hung up on, I don't understand how you can have something built already and then bring us a preliminary and a final. That does not make
Because-
sense.
That's actually the way it should work.
In commercial,
It should have worked that way.
in commercial, it's better that way.
Yeah, so if you have a commercial site that you want to develop, there's no reason to say I have to divide it. I can just.
You can be the owner of the building and just lease it,
That's
the
correct.
different
to different
offices.
users,
So
out.
the
as long as
only
they
reason
provide-
there's a preliminary and final is because it's flex space.
No, because it's
No, because
condominium
He wants to condominiumize it and sell them.
individually.
Separate.
Oh, so flex space does not equal condominium,
No, it's,
No, he could still
Okay.
create flex space on the
that he
other
owns
side,
them all.
but not sell them.
But at that point, you will be leasing and renting because they won't be condominiums.
Right, so since it's a condominium, he can sell them to people, and because he's selling them to people, the specific building, that's why he has to have a preliminary and final.
That's correct. And
Okay.
since the commercial development has already started and is underway, it's actually easier for the surveyor to determine the exact location on that lot where those buildings are located to be able to condominiumize it.
Okay, I have another question, kind of a devil's advocate question. If the site plan for part two was just gonna mirror this, why wouldn't we stick with that because it would look better? Instead of
Because-
having a half of this lot be designed one way and half of the lot be designed a different way in the exact same space.
Because it violates your zoning ordinance.
Well, so does preliminary one, or so does number
Well,
one.
just because you have a non-conforming situation on phase one does not make it legal to enlarge the
Okay.
non-conformity. And in fact, our code,
Says,
it says that we are not allowed to enlarge a non-conformity. So
Okay.
we know there's a non-conformity here. Going forward, we're not allowed to make it worse.
so that will always be legal non-conforming.
I don't like the word legal non-conforming because it wasn't legal, it slipped through.
Well, but it's,
I'm talking to you about my conversations with previous attorneys
Okay.
that I've talked to.
okay,
It's not good to ever say legal non-conforming. You just say it's not conforming. It's not
Okay.
conforming, we're not gonna go after it, it's just,
It's a known.
just is.
It's a known. We
But-
know
It's
it,
a known non-conformity, and moving forward, we know it's a non-conformity, and so any future development would not be allowed to enlarge on the non-conformity.
how is that going to affect the owners? Like if they try to get a mortgage, because it'll show as non-conforming, and
It won't show non-conforming anywhere. It's just the
We just
county
know that.
knows.
just the county, okay,
Because it doesn't meet minimum
Okay.
It's not recorded.
As, okay, because that can be problematic, okay.
Okay, I think I'm on, I think I know what's going on.
Do
Clear as mud.
you two have any questions? Do you understand what's going on?
That was a very good, long explanation of something.
Of something. So the fact that we already approved concept, we're not requiring that this amended have the basic concept information on it.
Well, we
Is that-
already have the basic concept with the first.
Right.
With the first approval.
Do we, or did it slip through?
That's what I,
So that is in the file.
Okay.
All the construction drawings and everything are in the file. I just thought
All right.
we could save the applicant a
You
little
thought?
bit of money so he doesn't have to print them all off again. Just.
but you're dealing with us, yes, I know.
I'm happy to do whatever you.
I'm just suggesting maybe when it goes before the commission to have the original concept,
Okay,
just so they can have the information
that's a great idea.
with, and this is the amended one.
But I want to make sure it's clear that phase two, it will not be that way.
Okay, yeah, can't be, right,
So as long as,
cannot.
I don't know, maybe redline that or something, Josh, because what I don't want is them thinking, oh, we get to do the same thing in phase two. so-
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'll add some additional.
Or the additional, just to explain, yeah, because like I say, it, like where you're getting your water, the sewer, that information should be on concept plat,
That's correct.
contours, and
It's there.
it's not on this, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was there.
And maybe the first sentence too, the applicant is requesting, and I know ultimately the applicant is requesting, but we're asking the applicant to request. I mean, it's, or we're, I don't want to say we're demanding, but I mean, we're working with the applicant and he is requesting, because I think that would make it more clear that this is coming more from us because of an oversight that had occurred in the past.
Yeah,
I'll amend the staff report for that.
Yeah.
and maybe also on the staff report, it's mentioned this property is part of the Mountain Green Village Development Agreement, and it's not.
I must have missed that, I apologize.
You know, that, no, I read that and I thought, no, that's the Johnson
Yeah.
property, so.
Exactly.
But it still needs a site plan. You're basically saying the site plan review needs to,
Site plan review needs to occur,
right,
and is going through the process right now.
good.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I really mean that.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Because that was,
It was painful.
okay, discussion amongst ourselves. Does everybody understand that this is a very confusing situation?
Yes.
At least well enough that they can vote? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move we forward a recommendation of approval to the county commission for Shortfield Landing Concept Plan, application number 22.041, allowing for a 14-unit commercial subdivision of land in the combination of two parcels into a single lot located at approximately 4032 West, 5800 North, based on the findings and with the conditions listed in the staff report, December 22, 22.
Okay, have a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
You bet, Josh. Appreciate it.
Okay. Item number 7, work session area plan update.
I have no updates for that.
Are we gonna go over them all at once? Like, are we waiting for everybody to be done to bring them,
I would prefer
or?
not to.
Okay,
So if you're ready, we'll,
If you're done, let's set up a meeting to go over it together.
okay.
And then maybe you can present it at a planning commission meeting,
Okay.
and then we'll just handle it that way when the other ones are finished.
I think that gives, the other members on here too, like, kind of an indication of where things are going. Other ideas. I mean, Enterprise is so small, they're so, I mean, we don't want nuclear power plants or SpaceX facilities
right.
there. But, you know, Croydon is completely different. I mean, do you guys want running paths and bicycling paths and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But at least it'll give us an idea of what other people are looking at, because Shane brought up that the people he was talking to want clustering, I believe, in the last one.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
well, I am working on a text amendment that would allow for clustering through planned development with development agreements.
that sounds good. Business staff questions, anybody?
I don't have any.
So did Emperor Constantine really move Christmas date to correspond to Saturnalia from the Roman Empire?
No idea.
I have one business question. Okay, did everybody get their corrections in? That
I
were
didn't.
not for the,
I didn't get the minutes.
I didn't get them either.
Yeah, I talked to Josh and I didn't send them out. They'll all be next time.
Okay,
The issue is, state code requires that a draft of the minutes be available to the public within 30 days of the meeting.
That state statute?
Mhm.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. We'll get those.
Yeah, get caught up on our minutes.
Yeah.
okay.
Not that anyone ever requests them, but
Well, I didn't know it was state statute 30 days, so.
for the draft, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, tonight would have been a good one, because if Blair wanted to see what was said 6 months ago and all of that, blah, 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 because, but, yeah. I don't-
So
like
no,
you
that's
said.
fine.
Yeah. Okay, since we don't have Shane,
I move to approve the, oh, we're not approving it. I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks for your patience tonight.
No, that was,
No,